Hello, this video is for students who are ready to start finding information online and adding it to their data chart. So you should already have come up with your research question, your sub-questions and your hypothesis and be ready to start taking notes and finding information. So essentially you need to do three things when it comes to finding your information. Number one, you need to find a source that's relevant to your research questions. Number two, you need to judge whether that source is reliable. And number three, you need to select the important information and copy it into your data chart. So let's go through these three steps. The first thing you need to do is make sure you've numbered your research questions. And this is because later in your data chart, you will have to write what number question was answered. So here is my example for should cars be banned? And my three research questions are, what would the benefits to the environment be if we banned cars? What are the alternatives to banning cars and what are their pros and cons? And three, what are the different groups who would be most affected by this and how do their perspectives differ? So that's my questions and I've given them each a number. Let's moving on. The first thing you need to do is find sources that are actually relevant to your questions. So when looking through websites, you'll need to skim and scan the information. That essentially is like skim reading, where you are skipping through and just looking to see if the website has the keywords that you need. What this enables you to do is get through lots of information quickly. So you're not reading every word, you're just skimming to see if the keywords of your questions are on that website. Like if my keyword is alternatives to cars, I'm looking down and seeing if the words alternatives to cars are in that slide, are in that website. So this helps you just quickly go through a whole bunch of websites without spending too much time reading them at this point. So here I've Googled alternatives to cars and you can see that a whole bunch of websites have come up. I'll probably open about 10 of them and just skim through their information to see if it's relevant and see if it actually has good information for me. I'll be looking at some of these titles like treehugger.com. That sounds interesting, maybe a bit biased. Life.com, I have no idea what that is. Wikipedia, we'll talk about Wikipedia later. So I'm already starting to think, what are these websites and do I trust them? But find information that's actually relevant and you'll find websites that answer your questions. The second thing you need to do is to judge whether those sources are reliable. So the first thing that we do is we look at, number one, who is behind the website or source, and two, what are my first impressions of this website? Does it seem a bit random or does it seem like it might be from a respected source? So you're putting on your cynical hat and you're just being a little bit suspicious when you read. So let's take this website for example. I found an article that might look at self-driving cars and I'm interested in self-driving cars as an option. And the title is Self-Driving Cars, the Technology, Risks and Possibilities. Oh, you can't see it, but it's written by a man called Tim Menke. And it's from a website called Harvard University, the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. Okay, so at first glance, it's made by a university, and generally universities are very reliable sources of information because they spend a lot of time following really high quality research processes and having high standards. It looks like a reputable website at first judgment, but we haven't looked up the guy yet. Let's look at this page. Okay. Greens want to ban petrol cars from New Zealand. So the first thing I'm thinking when I see that headline is that sounds quite intense or extreme. Someone's claiming that the Green Party want to ban petrol cars. That's probably not going to be very popular. So already I'm a bit suspicious, like, are they really? Then I look at what's the website. So the N tells me it's the National Party. And so what I'm instantly going is, this is made by a political party. What do political parties want from us? They want our votes. So it doesn't matter what political party, it might not be a good source of information if we're trying to find objective, neutral information. But it might be useful if you're looking for different perspectives on an issue. You'll be able to find different opinions on different party websites. So this is probably a less reliable source, just because politicians, no matter where they come from, have a certain angle that they're wanting to come at us from. So the next thing I do is I actually Google the authors of these two articles. So Tim Menke, who wrote the first one, I found him on Google Scholar. So that's a good sign, because Google Scholar is where researchers publish their information. It's very reliable. And then look, circles here, Harvard. He's a student in physics at Harvard. So he's a student, which isn't the same as being a researcher, but he is from Harvard, and it was published on the Harvard website, which means it's probably a very reliable source. Over here, I googled Chris Bishop. It tells me that Chris Bishop is the member for Hutt South in the National Party. So he's a politician for the National Party. So if I were to go back to these two sources, I would say I'm probably going to use the Harvard University one. I'm probably not going to use the National Party one, because I'm less likely to find unbiased information on a political website versus a university website. Hopefully that makes sense so far. Now, if we go forward, there are many, many websites, and we have to ask ourselves, can I trust this website? So, generally trustworthy. Universities' websites often end in .ac, like academic, .nz. They might have .edu in the name. And universities are a very good place to find information. Governments are also another good place to find reliable information, like .govt.nz or other international websites. These government websites are not written by politicians. That's really important to understand. They're not written by the biased politicians of the day. They're usually written by public servants, people whose job it is to provide unbiased, accurate, good information for the government. So they're written by professional staff, not politicians. Your third quality news source are websites like New Zealand Herald, Stuff, The Guardian, the New York Times. These websites all go through strict processes to make sure that what they publish is accurate. And if they publish something that is wrong, you can complain about them to the New Zealand Press Council. So they go through rigorous processes, which makes them quite a reliable source of information. Not all news sites go through the processes, but these ones do. There are many more that do too. Websites to be careful of. So, .com usually stands for company. Not always, but you've got to make sure you know who's made that website and what their motives are. .org is something to be very careful of. .org stands for organization or charity. Usually these are not political parties, but groups that have an issue that they really care about. So church groups, environmental groups, political groups, community groups, any sort of group, and they usually will have a particular issue. It's not usually like an academic or research thing, it's more like a group trying to campaign for something. It doesn't mean it's not reliable sometimes, but these are websites to be just a little bit questioning of. YouTube can be a good source if you could find documentaries and interviews made by reputable websites. If it's just a random going on about their conspiracy theory, that's not a reliable source. So on YouTube, it depends who made the video. There are also some news sites that are more gossipy, like the Daily Mail. This is a website. Some of these news sites are more about scandal and gossip, kind of like the Woman's Day, and they'll often post a lot of rumors or be quite over the top. So when you're looking at a news site, look for the tone. On the right here are websites that we wouldn't usually use in a research topic, like anything ending in WordPress or Blogspot are people's personal blogs on the internet. Anyone can just write their opinions down. It's not a reliable source. Reddit and random forums, same thing. Anyone, often anonymous, just writing their thoughts. So we've got a spectrum here of trustworthy sources, not trustworthy sources, and places in the middle, which you've just got to be a bit skeptical about. You've got to put your questioning hat on and really question the motives behind the site. They can be useful if you want to find people with strong opinions. So if one of your questions is actually asking, well, what are the different perspectives, then you will get some of these political groups, but not if you're looking for unbiased facts. That's not the place to go. Is Wikipedia reliable? Anyone can edit Wikipedia, so you can't use the main Wikipedia as a source. But on Wikipedia, you can click the little number next to the information, see it here, number 2, and then it will take you to the bottom of the page and the original link. So you click on these links, and that you then go to that website. You can judge that website and see if you find it useful or reliable or not. But the actual main Wikipedia page is not a reliable source because anybody can edit it, even you. Here are some more questions you can ask of a source. You don't have to ask all of these, but they're useful. So just pause me now and read this chart. Okay. You can use that, but I want you to at least look at these 5 things here. Firstly, date. What's the date that this was published? If it's really, really old, it might not be relevant, but some things don't change, so it might be fine. Author. This is important. Who is the person writing the article? Are they an expert? If they are a journalist, then look at the people that they quote in the article. Do they quote people who are experts? That's okay. Number 3, organization. Who wrote this? What's their motive? If you feel like they're trying to persuade you, like it's very trying to persuade you rather than present facts neutrally, then that might be a less reliable source of information. Number 4, do they cite their sources? Do they tell us where their information is from? If they're making some claim like 20% of people are going to lose their jobs from coronavirus, well, you go, well, where's that information from? Is it from the New Zealand government? Is it from the New Zealand Business Council? Or is it just a person making up a statistic? So this citing their sources, often a website will link. So you can click on that word and it will take you somewhere. That's more reliable than those that don't. Number 5 is tone. Do they seem emotional or angry? If they seem emotional or angry, then that would usually tell you that's not a very reliable source. So once you've established the reliability of a source, you need to select the important information and copy it into your data chart. So this means you are going to take the bits of info from that page that you think answer your question, and you're going to put them in your data chart. This is so you can use it later. Quotes are great things to capture, like actual quotes what people say, and so are facts and statistics. Here is an example of a data chart. So I've done one row of my data chart. Here I have the link. Here I have who the organization is, and I have the date. I've then copied in 2 major examples. See, I've got statistics, so percentages, and an example about the busway. I've then explained 3 reasons why I think it's reliable, and I've said what question it answers. I hope this video was helpful.